Hello and welcome to another edition of AttractWell Office Hours. I'm Coach Ashley with a special session for you. We're at the end of 2025, and here at AttractWell, we offer our office hours every Thursday at 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Today, we are here on a Tuesday because, well, this Thursday is Christmas, and next Thursday is New Year's, so we wanted to make sure that we didn't miss you guys live before the end of the year. So we're thrilled to have you here today, where we're going to be talking about long-form brand content. This is a question that we had actually asked you guys in our Facebook group. If you aren't a part of that, feel free to join. In our Facebook group, I asked, kind of what the topics are that are of most interest to you guys right now, and content seems to be pretty high up on the list. So today we're going to talk about what it looks like to create and share your content using AttractWell. Go ahead and head into the chat while we're here and let me know where you are coming in from and what it is that you do. And let me know as well, what kind of content are you interested in creating? Today, I am going to cover all kinds of long form, or what I like to call legacy content. I like to use that moniker because when you create content that falls into these categories that we'll discuss here today, you are building an asset for your business that can provide lead generating and conversion returns for you long term for your business. So it's not just about showing up for the sake of engagement. And engagement is fine. Engagement is great and highly desired. But if you want to get off the hamster wheel of engagement and just showing up to social platforms and being beholden to the algorithms, we really want to step out and start sharing something with a little bit more depth, a little bit more strategy, more meaning, so that we can better attract the people that we want to find us and ultimately work with us and pay us. And so the way that we do that is to provide content of substance. Again, kind of hard to get into substance if you're just generating a couple hundred words at most inside, or a couple hundred characters rather, at most inside of a social media tweet. So we're going to get into that here today. Welcome. Excited to have you guys here today. All right, so what we'll cover here on today's call is first, we're going to talk about what it looks like to use AttractWell to create, host, and share your long form content. And then we're going to talk about what it looks like as well to go beyond just blogging. So using AttractWell for podcasting as well as for video. So I know that a lot of folks will write in when they see that AttractWell has a blog and they'll ask, well, I don't really want to be a blogger, but I do create video or I do have a podcast. The most important thing for you to walk away with today is that regardless of what the medium is that you choose for your content, it's all going to live in the structure of an AttractWell blog. So we'll be going into some detail today on how you can make sure that it's set up optimally. And I'll also show you where you can find some additional trainings on how to get into these other modes if you want to move beyond just blogging. But at the end of the day, it is going to involve the utilization of a feature that we call the blog in AttractWell. I'll also share with you some planning tools you can use, some additional trainings that you can reference, and we'll talk about some basic branding and setup of that blogging feature so that it looks and behaves that you want it to, the way that you want it to, so that when folks find it, they find you and move forward the way that you want them to. And then we'll also talk about how to share your content with AttractWell, because very importantly, while we are building these assets that can bring us search traffic for the long run, that is really a primary benefit of legacy content, is search engine optimization potential, where things can be found for many years after you've published and shared them. But we also need to get that engagement in the moment, right? So we'll talk about what it looks like to broadcast out and share what we have created with AttractWell as well. All right. So of course, if you have questions throughout this call, feel free, pop them into the Q&A. It's just me here today, so it's a little harder to manage questions in the chat. So if they go into the Q&A, I can guarantee you I will get to them. If you're watching this as a replay, head over to attractwell.com/office hours. Come and join us through the end of this year. This is our last live call. We'll have a pre-recorded call for the coming week, where New Year's Day, January 1st, falls on Thursday. But normally we're here at 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time on Thursdays. It's a great way to get to know AttractWell if you're considering moving over to us from one or typically many platforms. And then, of course, if you're an AttractWell user, this is a fantastic space to get hands-on help and learn how to better use your system. All right. So if you want to work together live, this is an option that we offer every Thursday as well. AttractWell.com/work review is one of many opportunities that you have as being a member of this community to get hands-on help from someone who cares about your business. So that could be here on one of our calls that we typically offer on Thursdays. If you go to the help from a human in your AttractWell Success Academy. If you're a member of the community, you could also hop on a call with Pam. She has multiple calls throughout the week, and you could reach out to our team or ask questions in Facebook anytime. And if you would like to hand off your dream project to someone who is qualified to get it done well and probably a lot quicker, then you could reach out to our team. They are efficient and they do beautiful work at very reasonable competitive pricing. So I highly recommend that you check them out and schedule a zero obligation call to see if you're a fit to work together. All right, so we're going to get into action with this here in just a moment, but let me go over here and check the chat real quick. All right, let me see. Oh, excellent. Happy to see you guys here from all over. All right, well, Denny, I hope that you enjoy the replay when you come back. Hello, everyone. Oh, I know Lebanon, Tennessee. Hi, Abe. I grew up in Huntsville and spent a lot of time in Nashville. Very familiar with that area. Excellent. Oh, that's great. I'm excited to see you're launching in January. Welcome everybody. Hi, Jamie. Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. I'm going to open up a screen here in AttractWell so that we could start working through this here together. So let me get into an account I can share with you guys and we can get the ball rolling. So the most important thing that you need to know first, like I said before, is that where long form content is concerned, the place that is going to live inside of your AttractWell system is the blog. It's these blog posts. Now, again, this doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go and become a blogger in the traditional sense. What your blog is a feed of pages that are organized in a way that search engines really like. Right. These are things that are kind of webbed together, connected together, where there are backlinks to other opportunities to dig deeper. If we think about your presence online, essentially what it is the door to a rabbit hole. Right. And the way that your website and your content is structured should be set up in such a way that the people who would really like to learn more about what it is that you do and who you help are able to locate that rabbit hole and dive right on in. Right. So just to move the mixing metaphors here over to maybe it's water. They're going to swim. There's depth, right? So basically, we want to provide these opportunities to click through and chase depth on your site. And typically websites are less shallow, or they're more shallow than this, where there are pages. So here's my home page, my about me page, maybe my services page, perhaps a sales page, etc. But for someone who really wants to get into better understanding of context of what you do, how you help people, as well as the trust building exercise of that process, we need to give them something more to chew, right? We need a little bit more for people to work with. And so this is where that long form content comes in. So we believe that a blog is at the core of that because it's attached to your website. Even if you have a YouTube channel, for instance, you still want to be connecting people back to your website and your website back to your YouTube, et cetera, because your YouTube channel will benefit from that cross-linking of your videos in other places in the same way that your website does, right? So you're just boosting your exposure by having both. Same for podcasting. And I'll go ahead and put this out front. I know I'm getting just a little bit ahead of myself here, but if you are a podcaster, it's important for you to understand with AttractWell, we aren't hosting your podcast content. You will still want to use a podcast hosting feed like Buzzsprout, or I'm not really familiar with many. I am familiar with Buzzsprout. So you do want to have a paid service where you are hosting your podcast, where it could then be picked up by the likes of Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, et cetera, right? So you will want to have a place that you're hosting, but then you do have the ability to embed your podcast episodes and your show notes and all of that onto these blog posts, right? So let's go take a look real quickly at the blog. So you can see that I've got a number of different posts here that are showing up. We can go and take a look at it as well, see how it's set up and branded. These, the header menu here and the logo, these are all set up in website settings. And this is a part of blog branding. So I've got a nice big cover image here. I've got, you can have featured images for your posts and excerpts here. You can have sidebars. You can see your blog categories that you've applied to your posts. You see recent posts here too. And of course, folks can scroll through. Now, obviously, this is not an example of a fantastic website. I will actually show you another example of one. Let me see if I can actually pull that up here real quick, and I'll grab it and move it over. But we do have folks who use the AttractWell system. I don't think Sonia's on the call here today, but I'm going to bring this over here and we can take a look at this together. So she has on her blog, she actually does talk about her podcast episodes. So you can see this is episode 58. She's got the image for it here. She links off to it directly. There is a way to embed directly on the page, but she's sending them straight there, and she's got her notes here. And then in her podcast hosting, she's sending them to this blog post, right? And once they're here on this blog post, they'll be able to see all of these other things that she's talked about, right? They see that she offers a coaching program. She could offer things like opportunities to opt in and learn more. You can come over here and you can actually see, I wanted to see if I had one here where she's got a podcast embedded, but that's fine. Anyway, but this is just an example, right? So she's not actually blogging per se. Think of this as like a place to put your show notes. And just like we have the information about the show and a place to go and listen, we can also embed our video player here for YouTube as well if you are creating video content, right? It's pretty cool. Now, how do we go about using this, setting this up, etc.? Now, the first thing that I want to draw your attention to is your ability to brand the blog. So if we look over here, we can see on the blog page, and that's your website.whatever/blog, right? That's where you're going to find that. You have the ability to put an image up top here if you'd like. You can title your blog as well. And then these are all the feeds of your post, right? These are all the posts that you've created in order. And you'll see here, if we're using the excerpt feature, it'll use our featured image and an excerpt from it with an opportunity to open up and view a post where, again, we've got a header image, then we've got the post content, we've got a footer and all this other stuff here. I should probably go to one that has actual content. There we go. So you can see it all set up here. And of course, again, as we're scrolling, we can see that there are other posts that we can learn about. We can suggest additional posts to read. These are going to be based on the tags that are provided typically. And we even have things that we can plug in that are always there without having to add them every time you write a post. We have comments as well. And then we can have a footer for our blog posts and even a custom footer for our site. That's a separate conversation for another day. But this is all, believe it or not, really easy to set up, right? So if I come over here to our personalized blog button, this is where you can go to manage your branding, right? So, I'm in Sonia's account and I don't want to do that. Let me get into the Jane account and try that again. Here we go. All right, so under blog, header, footer, sidebar, we open this up, and this image here is your header image. I've used a rather large one here. This is one from Canva that is called Blog Banner. The preset in Canva is called Blog Banner. But this is really up to you, what you choose to put here or not. You can put anything here, including text. I chose an image. This is the sidebar. So if we look, so this is that header, right? And then this is the sidebar, right? Where we've got an image, we've got text. I honestly think that we can make this a little nicer. And here, let me copy this link, and I'm going to make a button here with Get My Guide as the text, because I want this to show up a little bit more boldly, and I'll turn it into a button. So you can actually see over here in our sidebar, you can have a nice little button here that takes them off to a landing page, right? And I mean, just imagine, like, if you are on, Stitcher or Apple Podcasts or what have you, and you're podcasting and you want to be able to draw someone's attention to something that you're offering, you're going to do that a little bit better with a big bold button on your website than you are by trying to compete with all of the other noise inside of YouTube or a podcast app, right? So again, makes a really solid case, I think, for having a blog post dedicated to the content that you're creating, because you get to decide kind of what the experience looks like, and you get to curate that for your people. All right, so you do want to go in and make sure that this is set up the way that you want it to be. We've got the title topic, or sorry, the title for the blog up here, the entire blog, the sidebar for the entire blog, and for the entire blog as well, the page footer. So anywhere when they scroll to the very bottom, they're going to see an invitation for this to join the community, and I'll show you that over here. If we scroll all the way to the bottom, there it is, right? And it shows up everywhere without having to think about it. And then there's an individual post footer, right? So maybe after every single post, there's something that I want to say, and there might maybe a little, maybe a lot. I want to maybe offer a subscription to this content. So if you want to be the first to know when I release new content, get on the list, right? So I could put that here in my post footer, and I can add all my social links here as well. Again, that would be really tedious to do for every single blog post, but it's going to automatically insert that here together with the stuff that you're actually putting into the post itself. So there's our individual post footer. You can use sidebar code as well if there's additional third-party content or tools that you want to use. Again, totally up to you. You can you can maximize sort of whatever it is that you want for your experience here, how you want people to interact. Do you want to automatically approve blog contents? Do you want to make the blog your homepage? How many recent posts do you want to show? How many random posts? You have some control over these things, right? So you can modify how the blog shows up. So we've established that no matter what kind of long form content you're creating, it does appear on the blog, or if it's a blog, it is the blog. Then you obviously want to make sure that it's set up the way that you want, right? So we do that in our blog settings. Now, once we've got that done, we can actually begin to write. And here it's all fairly straightforward, infinitely easier than WordPress. You're going to create a title. You're going to write your post. My recommendation, this isn't an SEO training. We do have some of those. But my recommendation is to, you can open with paragraph text, right? And so you write your paragraph here, but then when you're moving into the next section of your blog post, head over here to paragraph settings, go to heading 2, and this is a subheading. So this is a subheading of your blog post, and this is more paragraph text, right? So you want to make sure, because this title is going to be in heading 1, and that's code on the back end. Really important, your keywords are in this heading 1 or H1 that will appear on the page, such as here, this is H1. We have paragraph text, and then we have heading 2 or H2, right? So this is how you would modify that. Now, when you are ready to do your embed, so say you have a YouTube video that you want to include, you're going to go up here to click add video. You're going to add video by link. And you might have an embed code, or you might have a link. What I always do with our blog and our content, the AttractWell blog, is I just grab the link that YouTube gives me as soon as I've uploaded it. I paste it in here, and it drops it right in the page right where I want it. Right. So that's what I would do here. Essentially look at, if you are a video creator or a podcast creator, look at the blog as an opportunity for you to create a bridge between the content and what you want them to do with it, because you have more control over the experience, right? So if you are releasing a podcast that's talking about a particular topic, and you want the person to take action or maybe explore additional topics, you have an incredible opportunity here in this post to create a richer experience and to create more exposure and more benefit for the other content that you've created by cross-linking it here with those other places, right? So, so do definitely consider that. As a practice with creating long-form content, this is really just a general best practice. If you want to rank on the first page for search terms, for competitive search terms, a general rule is that the length of a post for a blog post's sake should be about 2,000, 2,500 words. Again, you don't have to aim for the sun here. You can get something done and then modify it later, right? So know that that is an ideal to move toward if your goal is to rank on the front page for a particular term. right? That someone might be searching for. But it's quite likely for the work that the majority of us do here, that if you're here with AttractWell, it is probably not your number one priority to rank on the first page of Google for anything that you could talk about, right? I would really concern yourself with that kind of specificity and strategy on the couple of keywords that you really want to focus on. And if you don't even know what that is, just start writing. Know that blog posts are something that you can edit, you can update, you can adjust their publication date, you can unpublish them, republish them, change them to your heart's content. What matters is that you get started, right? All right. So you can have it automatically write a post summary for you that you could use in an excerpt down here. I highly recommend using a featured image here. That is going to make this look much nicer. So let me actually look at the AttractWell blog. I'll show you what this looks like. Obviously, our branding is very boring, but I mean, this is supposed to be functional. So this is what ours look like. And you'll actually see that for all of our posts, we have an image that is similar. It's absolutely the same in size. We use the same file to generate this, the same template. You don't have to have it as boring as mine here, but I do have a little bit of text here that helps people to understand whether or not they want to read further, right? Obviously, we've got titles, we've got our additional topics. So these would be like the tags. You can see here, tag 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are the blog categories. So these are blog category tags, and that's where they're going to show up. And the cool thing about this is that, you know, if someone does, going back to that rabbit hole scenario we want to create, if someone does arrive on your website and they get really interested in one of these topics and they click to open this one, it actually takes them to a whole list of all of your posts that talk about that topic, right? So this is a really cool thing. Again, it's pretty straightforward. You'll be able to automatically grab any of the ones that you have previously used from right here. And again, the benefit here of having a featured image and using it there is that it's going to populate here and create, I think, a little bit more visually engaging interface with the person who's scrolling your content. And so, yeah, so we've got that. What I also like to do is publish ahead of time, right? I like to plan ahead so that I publish later. Because what I recommend doing is releasing long form content once per week, right? So once per week, I release new content. And when I do, I send an email about it. And that email and this publish time are basically scheduled for the same time. If I'm releasing a podcast, I can schedule that as well with my podcast hosting platform, as well as with YouTube. I could schedule when this becomes live and available, and I can just make sure that these are all for the same time. Another thing that we can do here is modify our URL slug or link path. This is something that I actually work with ChatGPT on, and I do that actually with all of the aspects of long form content. I'm happy to chat with you guys about that to the extent that you're interested. But essentially what we're doing here is creating the best possible outcome for our potential SEO ranking where it matters, using the keywords that we care about, and just making sure that it's formatted as optimally as possible. And this, the link path is an important piece of that puzzle. You know, so if you are writing a blog post about sleep hygiene, it would be important that sleep hygiene, that is included in the title, the word sleep hygiene, it would be important that it is included in the link path. And it would probably be pretty helpful for it to be here for blog categories as well, if that is something that you speak about often, right? So this isn't necessarily, if it's not a top level keyword for you, I wouldn't necessarily put it here. All right. So real quick, you'll probably see this when this post is published, send it to contacts by, and you can choose email, text, app notification. I don't do this. I don't generally teach to do this. This is an option, but it's not one that I generally recommend. And the reason why is I want you to have more control over how compelling you make this content. And what any of these are going to do is better than nothing, to be fair, but it will either email the entire body of the post, just the whole thing, and they never have to visit your website. And that's not what we want. We want them to open your email and visit your website. Both of these are good for your business. We could also email the excerpt, but I really like to deliver the excerpt as a compelling reason to click. right? So if it's what's here and that's what's on my website, again, it's better than nothing. I recommend skipping this piece. My personal recommendation. Now, I do absolutely show the excerpt again, because that's what's going to allow something like this to appear here with an image next to it, as opposed to it populating the entirety of the whole blog post right here on the page. Okay. And then the search engine meta description is going to be similar to what you would put into the description for a page on your website. It's going to be fairly similar to the excerpt. I think best practices here are maybe like 100 to 120 words. And essentially what it looks like is if we go to search for sleep hygiene, and I start scrolling and I can see who's on the front page. This stuff right here, this is a meta description, right? This is a meta description, this here. That's what we're looking for here. So these, we've got our dates and our meta description here. And that's what this is, right? So that's an important thing to use. Under advanced options in your blog post, you also can adjust your created date. If you have multiple teammates on your account, maybe some of you post and some of you don't, we can put you guys in here and lots of other great options here too. All right. So again, big picture story here is that you create your content, right? So that might be that you're generating blog post content. So you're writing. It could be that you are primarily focusing on podcast production or video production, and you are maybe taking the summary of what you are doing and creating a shorter post that embeds your video or your podcast player, right? So that you can pop those right into here. And then all of that information is here and ready to go. The link path, Jamie, if you, it's automatically based on the title that you put in here, it's going to generate one for you. And it's perfectly fine. Like, again, done is better than perfect. We can always go back and make better the things that we did before where it comes to these blog posts. And this is kind of the cool thing, right? Because with social media, you post and yeah, you could technically go back and edit it, but a social post has a very short shelf life. A blog post has an infinite shelf life, provided that you keep it updated, right? So, you know, if the first few times you do this, you don't do a great job at it, which is totally fine and to be expected. When you're ready in a couple of months, maybe you want to revisit a subject that blog post talks about, or that video that's embedded on the blog post, or the podcast embedded on the blog post. You can share that to your list again, right? Because this doesn't have to be brand new every time. In fact, I would say it needs to be brand new 50% of the time. Obviously, you need some variety to be able to get to that point. But you can be revisiting core topics and updating and modifying your key blog posts year over year over year, right? So this isn't about getting you onto a hamster wheel, like a bigger hamster wheel with more tasks. This is really about creating some things that can really become anchors for you. So don't worry, just, you know, it'll populate it for you. And again, if you are using we could even use our Write with AI for this. If you were to pop in a general outline of the blog post, the title, and what your intentions are, you can ask it to come up with a link path for you, right? And it could generate that for you too, right? It could pop it in right there. And again, that's one of the things that I use with ChatGPT in my content planning, which, by the way, let me show you guys where you can get access to some tools that will help you tremendously if you are ready to get into content production. So if we go to live training and replays, click view by topic, it's going to take you over here to content planning systems. So this playlist here begins with a training on how to use a swipe file to plan your content. And I have created in here, if you click to open this up, I have created a Trello board, which if we click through to the blog post, you can see we also have, this is a topic, if you go to content planning systems, you can find this here as well. But here we actually have a full run through of what it looks like to create a swipe file using this Trello template that we've created for you. Here you can follow the additional trainings that we have to first to capture your ideas, and then from there to move them toward publication. And so there are on each of these template cards steps for you to follow to use. This is totally free, and you can use the free version of Trello for this. And I actually want to, I'm going to switch my share over to an example board that we can look at together. Again, highly, highly recommend this no matter what kind of long form content you plan to create. This is going to be really helpful for you. All right, so this is where we keep our ideas, right? So our ideas for emails, maybe we swipe subject lines and body content from emails that we like. Same for social posts. We just gather these here. These are, ooh, that looks good. I should do something with that. And you store it here for later, right? And then you start gathering ideas for what you want to do for blog posts. Oh, hey, that would make a really good blog post. Or I actually put here, this is called long form content on purpose. And the reason why is because, yes, it's all long form content, but maybe this is a podcast. Maybe it's a blog post. Maybe it's a YouTube video. So this one's going to be, let me see more labels. Yeah, I've got a podcast one here. So I'm going to have a blog post and a podcast about this. Obviously, I'm doing both. Maybe I intend to write a longer blog post that will also have a podcast embedded. Or maybe I'm just using the podcast and putting it onto my AttractWell site. Either way, what I'm going to do here is I am going to, gather my ideas, follow the steps that are in here, apply any labels to these. That would be like the topics that they cover. And this is just where you start your planning process, right? And so maybe this is what I'm going to be talking about soon. This is going to be, in this particular case, I'm talking about the downsides of GLP-1s and holistic alternatives to them. I'm going to make a YouTube video about that. It will show up on a blog post as well in AttractWell. But I've got holistic living is one of my top level themes that this covers. So I've got that. When I'm ready to work on this, I can actually move it over when I'm doing my quarterly planning. I can move it over to the ideas that I'm going to be turning into drafts for the coming quarter. So I would come over here and maybe schedule, I'm going to decide when I'm going to publish this. Maybe I'm going to do this in February on the 2nd. And then I can get started with this process. And so now I can, start gathering aspects of this, my planning process. And I highly recommend for long form content, particularly for publication, if you're going to be writing something long form and you want it to be optimized as much as possible, to utilize AI for this, right? There is, to an extent, like you can do a lot of ideation with AttractWell's built-in Write with AI feature, but I like to take this all a step further. And I actually will go into, let me come back over to AttractWell and I'll show you. What I like to do is I will go into AttractWell and I will find a blog post that I created for which I like the formatting. It works for me. I think it's a good example of a blog post that I want AI to see, like how I write and how it's formatted. So let me just go find one. 5 natural hacks to boost your family's energy levels. Let's check this out. Sure. This is a fine start, right? So if I really like this, then what I'll do is I'll go over here and find that in my post manager. And I'll grab the title. I'll grab the code, the code view of the post, because that formatting is really important. I'll grab the code view. I will also grab the excerpt and meta description. And I use the exact same thing for both, just quick cheat code. It might not be the best thing to do, but it's a perfectly good thing to do. And then you could put in the example link path, put all of this into a plain text file, upload it to ChatGPT and say, here's an example of a correct blog post in the output that it needs to be provided to me. Now provide a blog post about this topic, right? Or here are my show notes from my podcast. Here's an example of a blog post that's written the way that I want it to be written. Write a blog post for this podcast episode, right? And then this way, what your AI will give you back in response is an optimized title, a post that matches the tone and structure that you've provided as an example, and you'll be able to just paste it in code and voila, there it is. Because going in and making these modifications using the editor is the thing that is very time consuming, right? And then you can, basically have all of those elements done. And what I really like to do, going back to our Trello board, is as I'm gathering those assets with AI, what I would be doing here, oh, that's the wrong one, sorry. What I would be doing here is just adding those assets to the card in Trello, right? So I can just go ahead and plan all the blog posts and have them over here ready. And then I can just go in and line them up in AttractWell and copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, publish, 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 and have all of these blog posts scheduled for the coming quarter or month or however far in advance you like to plan. Jamie says, why do you use ChatGPT or plain text when you put it in ChatGPT? Yeah, so ChatGPT, especially, I think depending on your plan level, I've always used the paid version and I find it to be tremendously worth it. Like it is, it's not a panacea, but if you can learn to use it well, it can be indispensable for you, in particular for content. But the reason why I use that plain text or TXT file is because sometimes your inputs can get truncated, meaning if you give ChatGPT a super, super long prompt, it might not read all of it. So it can be helpful to give it a file, instruct it to open and read the entire file, and then do something with that, if that makes sense, right? So let me show you, I think I could maybe pull mine up and give you guys an example of how I might do this. I have locked in formats that I use. Let me go ahead and grab the AttractWell content here. Here, let's see. We can change this share over. Okay. Okay, so what I've got here is in my AttractWell content, I have locked in files. So you can see here for all of the different types of outputs that I create. And so these are going to be blog posts, different types of emails, my YouTube title and description, my social post formatting, and even how I outline my my trainings that I do. I keep all of that inside of these individual files so that I can go in and I can say, hey, I want to create content about X topic this week. Outline that training for me. And then once I have that outlined and I know the scope of what I'm going to talk about, I'll say, okay, now take this outline and let's turn this into a blog post. Right. And so now we're getting into a more complex system. And so what I'm suggesting for you with your blog posts is that you go in and you basically create these formats for the different outputs that you're looking for. Because even with like a newsletter that might have multiple outputs that you need to copy and paste in terms of code. And again, I am giving it code, right? I'm showing it, here's the code view. I want you to deliver this copy. Like I want you to come up with copy and I want it to be delivered to me in a format that I can copy and paste in code view because that maximizes time spent. It makes it very, very quick and easy. Let me see. Jamie says, I want to unify the formatting when I move from ChatGPT to AttractWell and not have to manually adjust spacing, headings, etc. Yeah, Jamie, that's exactly what I'm talking about here. Let me see if I can find a, let me see, AWOH blog post. See if I can open up this text file and show you guys how I have this set up. I'm going to change this share here for you. I just need to get this big enough so that you can see it. Okay, here we go. Okay, so you can see this is quite long, right? But you can see at the top here, I have our, like who we are, our audience, our voice and tone, the purpose of the file, and then I've got structural rules, right? So I give it a minimum of 1,500. I actually now have trained this to go closer to 2,500. I would go over what you think you need for this. If you are writing just to write, right? If this is just a blog post and you're not creating other content that would keep them on the page longer, like a blog post, or sorry, like a video or a podcast, I would aim for 2,000 to 2,500. If this has video or a podcast, I think you can get away with a little less, but it would still be optimal to aim for 2,000 to 2,500 for SEO purposes. I'm telling it to use this locked in structure. It needs to be SEO optimized to target the audience that was previously outlined. Um, yeah, I set this up in a project. So in ChatGPT, I have the paid version and I have a project that's dedicated to content creation. And that has all of these files, right? So where do I want my calls to action? What are they? I want it to have this structure. And listen, I'm not a prompt engineer. I'm not an expert in this stuff. But what I did, my workflow with this in creating a file like this one, which by the way, you can see there's a sample blog post title, meta sharing, and then I have pasted the code version of what I want, right? So that it knows how to give me what I want. But how I arrived here actually was, let me see if I can go back to here. How I arrived at ChatGPT in this way with that TXT file was I just opened a chat and said, I want to create a locked in format for my blog posts. And here's an example of a post. Here are all of the ways that I want it done. And then I told it, create a locked in format file for me. And it created that TXT file with all of those inputs that I provided. And then I uploaded those to the into the ChatGPT project files here, right? So once you have those there, that's what makes it. There's only so much. So Write with AI. So the feature inside of AttractWell is really great for the integrated use purposes. So like, write a header for this page, or, do a quick setup for my website. You want to do a transcription, rewrite something for me. There's a lot of really cool stuff that it can do. But where I'm talking about bulk production of content, which I highly recommend, bulk production of content, and doing this planning ahead of time so that you aren't on a hamster wheel, because you probably didn't sign up to be a coach to be a blogger, right? Or to be a podcaster. It doesn't need to be your full-time job. So a lot of these content planning systems that we share with you that begins with that Trello board, those are going to be the things that help you to get more of these done. Yes, Jamie, or a coder. Exactly. So go through and do it once and make sure it looks exactly like you want it to look. And then just go to the code view. I'm not a coder. Go to the code view, copy this, paste this, give this to your chat GPT and tell it the rules, tell it how you want it to be done, who it's for, et cetera. And then tell it to create a locked in format file, because then you can go back to chat GPT and say, all right, it's time to write a blog post, or I'm planning a podcast about X topic, or I'm doing a YouTube video about X topic. I need a blog post that goes along with this. Follow the locked in format. And now it doesn't just do the thinking and the writing, it does the thinking, the writing, and the formatting, and you've got one output, right? So that's my cheat code and how I do content. And it's working pretty well. And again, as always, with anything that you create, you can go back. With blog posts, at least, you can go back and make those modifications. You can always go back and edit these. So, when I renew and I do a swipe file training again in 2026, which I inevitably will, I'll still have this blog post. I will definitely update the YouTube video that's on it, right? But I will expand this further. I feel like in this particular blog post, it doesn't feel as substantive as I would like for it to, because it's just very bulleted, right? Bullets and numbers, bullets and numbers. So I need this to be redone when I get around to that point. And I'll put on my Trello board that I'm going to do another swipe file training in March, perhaps, right? And then I'll already have a blog post that's already gotten views, right? And I can just go back and make it better, which is pretty cool, right? So that's what that looks like in terms of help, having AI to help you. The tricky part is, like, especially if you want to have like a 2,000 word blog post, we do have an output maximum character count with our built-in AI. This is true for a lot of like free AIs, where you can only get so big of an input or so long of a conversation. So you can give some rules if you go down to my account settings and then go to AI settings. you can absolutely give it some rules about, sort of how you want it to communicate. Or when I write my newsletter, it needs to start with this code and end with that code. You can put that kind of stuff in here. But it's not going to give you quite what you would with a dedicated paid tool. Like I think if you're getting serious about long form content creation and really pursuing this as a dedicated, meaningful way to grow your business, I would invest in the paid tool. And I think that you can get away with just ChatGPT, especially when you're just getting started. There are, SEO tools that you can graduate into. But for the majority of us, we aren't relying on strangers to just stumble upon us by Googling us, right? We are going to better serve our communities by building them. So showing up on social where it matters, by networking and getting exposure through, maybe interviews with others with those similar audiences, right? Those opportunities are typically, for most of us who use AttractWell, going to be the better options. And then, of course, when you're ready and you've got the systems down and you are publishing consistently, you can then move into, the optimization of your content for SEO and the like. So yeah, this swipe file training here. Oh yeah, Kim, this will be, sorry, I just saw your question here. Yeah, this replay is going to be released later today on the blog, as a matter of fact. So it'll look just like one of these. So this training on how to create a swipe file is a really great place to start. And then what we also have as a part of this series is how to, under our content planning systems, let me go to the oldest one here. Yeah, we've got 1 month of content planning and 1 month of content publishing. And both of these are things that you can get done in an hour. These build upon that Trello template that I recommend that you get started using. And so you can actually plan all of this out in that one space, gathering all of your ideas and then moving them toward completion. And the other cool thing too is that once you have this set up, you are able to actually search for things that you did before. So again, if you're sitting down, you're doing your planning and you decide, here's a topic that I want to cover in the next quarter, you can actually search for some of the keywords in your board here and find something that you published a year ago, 6 months ago, that you could revisit, tweak, maybe release a new video about, or maybe you could tee off of that and turn it into a series, etc. Right? So there is a lot that you can do here with an organization tool. Again, this one is totally free, provided to you by us, and it's just such an indispensable planning tool that we see folks using. So let's talk about another final piece here, and that is how to share your content. Right? So with AttractWell, you have your blog, but this isn't an if you build it, they will come proposition, right? We do need to get the word out about what we're doing. And the core piece of that is going to be syndication through emailing your list, as well as by sharing your content directly, right? So what I want to encourage you to do, instead of, let's just say, for instance, you've released a new podcast episode, instead of sending them directly to the podcast episode on whatever the hosting platform is, send them to the blog post that you created that has the podcast embedded. Right? So you go and you find it and you click get link, or you can also click share and you can take you to either of these, or you can just grab that blog post link there. And then we can go over and get started with sending out to our list, right? So we can go send an email, just one message. I can filter for my my general mailing list. So people who sign up for this, maybe via a landing page on my site. I can write an email. Maybe I have a newsletter that I use where I talk about the blog, right? So here's what I wrote about. Here's the post. I can come over here and link that post. There we go. I can come over here and find that blog post. Let me actually go find that real quick. And I'm going to ask AI to write an excerpt for me. Wait, is that the one? Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to copy all of this, and I am going to come back over here, and I'm going to use talk to and write with AI, edit existing content, rewrite to promote the following blog post, and then I'm pasting and writing. And we'll have it insert that there. Might not be what I will have wanted to do because that read the post. Let's see what it says. Okay, so this is fine. Again, you're going to get something that's a little bit more nuanced if you're using a dedicated LLM like ChatGPT or Claude. But again, you can utilize that. And now I have control over this. I have my branding on this, right? And it is positioned in a compelling way, right? I can open this email speaking to a theme and then send them here, right? And here's the blog post. And by the way, here's my events that are coming up. I can also pop that in here. So I can treat this as a newsletter, obviously, here, newsletter. And then you can have this be scheduled to go out to your people on the date that that blog post publishes, right? So is that in February of 2026? Yep, at 9 a.m. Right, so then I can schedule this to go out to them, right? So at the end of the day, what we're looking to do here with long form content is number one, first and most importantly, just get into doing it, right? It is one of the most important things that your business needs that it needed 6 months before you realized you needed it, right? Having long form content is what causes people to see you separate, apart from, above, and beyond the influencer types that are just showing up online and being popular. That's not the point here, right? Like if you want to connect on meaning, you want to connect on content. So just get in the habit to start creating it. You will start to build the skills and the reflexes and the systems that are necessary. And of course, where the systems are concerned, we've got you covered. Everything you need to know throughout the entire process. You don't need to know up front. Start with just collecting your ideas for the swipe file and content planning, following the content planning systems that we offer, a free series of these videos and tools that you can plug in and use so that you can start creating on a consistent basis. If all you can do for now is to do this once per month, release a piece of content, put it on the blog, email your list about it. If you just do it once per month to start, it is excellent. That is tremendous, right? Because it's something that you can build off of moving forward, right? And then when you want to go and promote whatever it is that you're talking about in that content, you take the link to that blog post, not to the YouTube video, right? Not to the podcast episode, but to your blog post, because now you're getting exposure for all the things you're doing in one place where you can also capture their attention and move them toward next steps, right? Because when they're on your blog, you can move them to where you want them to go, right? You can give them rabbit holes to dive into. If they want to learn more about a topic, they can click and they can go see more of the stuff that you talk about in that particular category. And I promise you, it doesn't have to look boring like this. You can, let me find you, my friend Katinka, this is in Dutch. She's in Belgium, but look at this, is cute. You can do so much with this. It doesn't have to look exactly like what I just showed you. You can have a lot of variety and fun in the images that you're using. You can, her text is a little bit larger. You can have it that way too. That works great for her audience. So there's just so much you could do to get this really looking the way you need it to and working for your business. All right, Jamie says, does each blog post count as a website page in our plan? Oh gosh, no, absolutely not. No, the website pages in your plan are all going to show up under website pages. And so website pages, that's where you're going to have home, about me, services, a thank you page, sales pages, right? You can have as many blog posts as you want to your heart's content. And blog posts, again, are going to be where most people find you long term, right? Most people are not going to go Google and land on your homepage. That's just not how the internet generally works. There are these sort of satellite pages that could be, maybe you do have a page that's about a topic that's on your site. Maybe people do find that, and that's cool. But the majority of the time, it's going to be a blog post, because blog posts are written by design to be more substantive. Most website pages, like the copy on a website page, like if we go and just look at a homepage, there is a tiny fraction of letters, of words, of characters on a page like this compared to a blog post that should ideally have thousands of words, right? And so because the search engines were developed by and for academics. They are favoring substantive content, character counts, well organized keywords inside of, an outline-ish format, right, where it's easy to scan and find the data or information you're looking for. Website pages are designed to move the eye and the scroll to the point where you want someone to take action, right? Which is fundamentally different from a blog post, where the purpose of a blog post is for someone to read, right? The purpose is to display depth of substance. And so that is, again, just to beat this point a little more. This is why it's so important for you to have a blog, even if you don't want to be a blogger, because you need to have the space on your site that signals to the search engines, this is a serious authority figure on this topic, right? And if we skip that step, then we are just on the hamster wheel competing with every influencer over a popularity contest, as opposed to showing the powers that be that matter, that point to you, that you're someone worth pointing to, right? So have long form content. You have your website pages, and then, when every single time, this is an excuse to talk to people, every single time you release a new piece of content or you update a new piece of content, you get over to your list of people who said yes before, and you say, hey, you said yes, I got something for you, right? And so we are giving them, and it's an exchange of value, right? Because it might not be new. They may have just joined your list yesterday, and this is a post that you just updated from 3 years ago. They love it just as much as something brand new. Right. And so if you keep this cycle continuing of improving upon the value and the content that you have, consistently syndicating that out to the audience that you're building, you're going to keep people building a habit of you, right? Opening your emails, reading what you write, and taking action eventually as they trust you on what you recommend, right? All right. Do we have the feature where a new post excerpt shows up automatically in our Facebook page? No, we don't have a Facebook integration. And honestly, what I would recommend doing, and I do talk about this in the content planning systems trainings that integrates the swipe files, because I do have, like a template here for social posts and, getting all of that planned out ahead of time. My recommendation would be, I think I know what you're saying. Are you talking about, Jamie, when you put a URL in and it populates an image and some words? If that's what you're asking about, then yes, the image will be what you put here, and the words will be what you put, I think here. I think it would be the meta description, because these function basically the same as, let me go to our website pages. Let me just find this one here real quick. Oh, got you. Yeah, no, we don't have that integration, no. So if we go here to settings, sharing image, and sharing description, right? So these are the things that would populate, like if you texted someone a link, or if you just put a link to this page into a Facebook post, it would populate whatever image is here, and it would populate the words that are here. So in a blog post, that's also going to show up, if you share in that way, what is here and what is here. All right. Let me see. And for Facebook, I think honestly, if we're thinking about like what is truly effective on social media, we can put a post there and it can automatically populate, and that's fine, and it's better than nothing. But the better thing to do with sharing your blog post content on social is going to be not actually including the link in the post itself. It's going to be starting a conversation, asking a question, making some kind of declaration that causes someone to stop scrolling. And then you say link in comments, because then they really have to stop what they're doing and go to it. And the other benefit of that is that you're going to get better edge rank on social for that post. Because social media platforms are built for addictability, and they want people to stay on them as long as possible. So they're going to prefer a post that you make that's designed to engage with people over a post of yours that sends someone away from the platform. Right? So yeah, we don't have a way for that to go straight in to your Facebook, but that's probably for the best. because there's a more effective way to go about it. And yeah, that is why a lot of seasoned creators will say link in the comments. Yeah, because you will get better exposure to a post that you create that is designed to keep the user on the platform, because their algorithms are all about locking you in, keeping you scrolling, because they make money off of the ads you see, right? So if you are sending them somewhere else, they're no longer able to make money off of that person in that moment. All right. Kim says, can you create separate content for each website domain? I have two different websites and brands. How do I separate them? So our built-in features like the blog don't have that differentiating factor, unfortunately, at this stage. If you have some overlap in your audiences, Kim, in terms of who you serve, it could be helpful. Well, number one, if your primary umbrella brand is you, like your name, like withkim.com or something like that, where they can do this thing with Kim and that thing also with Kim, then you've got an umbrella that you can work with, right? A pretty effective umbrella. Let me come over here to, I've got so many tabs open. I don't understand how anyone can live in millions of tabs. All right, here we go. So I'm going to just open up this one here. So yeah, you could have, your name, and then there are multiple things that you do, right? So maybe you have a for this person or for that person, it's in your menu, but the blog is only ever going to be the blog. That said, you do have the ability to use these categories, right? And so if you have silo A and silo B, right? And it's okay for them to technically be on the same page together. It's okay for clients of this group to know that clients of the other group exist. They know that you do both of these things, right? If you truly need a separate church and state where blog content is concerned, you will want to have two separate AttractWell accounts, because we can't assign at this stage, and that may be different in the future, but we can't assign at this stage an additional blog or a different blog post per domain. That said, if you want, you can have topic A and topic B, and then what you can do is from those pages, we can just find only the posts that are labeled with this tag, right? And then this can be what you link to, right? So all of my blog posts about topic A, maybe we can link to that under, here's your main website, and then you've got group A and group B. So group A, here's the blog posts you might want. And basically what you're doing is all of those blogs have the category tag for A or B, right? And you can link to a page that just displays A or just displays B. So you could do that if you wanted to. But it's going to kind of depend on how cleanly you need to keep those things separated. If they do truly not speak to each other at all, and it would be very confusing or anything other than beneficial for you and your business to have those things showing up next to each other, then I would consider getting a second account or just blogging for one of them. But at the end of the day, I think that where we often, and I'll close with this, where we often get stuck with, how do I present myself, is in this thinking that we need to tell a bigger story. And the fact is that we don't. What people need to know is that they can trust you. And this is why I always kind of default back to encouraging anyone who sells their expertise to brand themselves, right? So brand, not a business name. Yeah, you got an LLC. You might love the name of your LLC. I love the name of my LLC, and nobody knows it. Do you know why? Because very few people would know or care what it means. But what I do is I brand me, right? So if you want to learn A or B from me, I offer product A or program B, but it's all coming from me. And so that's the name that's on my YouTube. That's the name that's on my website. That's the name that's on everything that I do, is me, because I'm the one that they need to care about hearing from in the first place, right? And so if you brand that, then you have infinite possibilities, because now it makes sense that this person, right? Because a business is a two-dimensional thing just as an abstract concept in our minds. Business is very on paper, two-dimensional, but a human, multi-dimensional, right? It would make sense that a human would have capability A and B, even though those two things don't necessarily seem connected. So then the answer to how you present is as yourself, right? So if it's possible for you to brand with your name, that would be my recommendation the vast majority of the time as an expert. And I think that's what all of us are here as today. And then you brand the offers, right? So if you want to have an offer that is, 90 days with Janie.com, then that could be a brand name that you create. You can trademark it. You can create a domain for it. You can manage the domain for it. And here you can connect the email address for it here, and you can communicate with people for it from there, but it's not the main brand. The main brand is you. You're the one that's creating content. You're the voice that they're looking for. And then if they find their way to 90dayswithjamie.com, then that'll also send them back to jamiesname.com, right? Which is the hub, the home, if that makes sense. Yeah. And it's easier for people to understand. People are coded to understand humans and human names, right? Because it's something that's similar to them. If we start creating abstract layers, for them to try to understand, we can lose them before they are around long enough to pay attention, right? So yeah, that's the brief overview of how you can get that done. Again, I just can't recommend enough. Create your first video, right? Create your first video, and you can use AttractWell to do that, by the way. Just head over here to Zoom and events, open Zoom meetings, click Meet Now, hit record to cloud, start talking. Maybe it's video. Maybe you want to save that as an MP3 or, whatever the file type you would want to use as, a baby podcast episode, right? Hit record to cloud. When that recording is done, you can go right here to my recordings. It'll be right here, and you can click to convert it over into your AttractWell video library where you can embed it, right? Or you could download it and you can upload it to YouTube or upload the MP3 to your favorite podcast account or whatever. You can actually create your content with us. And then you can have that embedded here. Now, you don't have to record to cloud if you want, you want to edit it or upload it somewhere, record it to your device. That way you can move it to where it needs to be. But yeah, you can even start creating that here. You don't need to go and get something expensive or complicated. A very basic microphone for, 40, 50 bucks is a great place to get started. Very basic webcam, if that's what you need, if you're trying to get started with video. Honestly, at the end of the day, what's really needed from all of us is just to get moving. It's get moving. That's really it. Because as you get moving, your form improves, right? As you get moving, your ability to move with precision improves, and no preparation you can engage in will get you there faster than just getting out there and doing the thing, right? So let's get started creating it. Definitely, again, with blog posts, recommend that you invest in a paid LLM. I use ChatGPT. Claude works for this as well. Haven't used Gemini, but I'm sure it's fine too. And yeah, let's just get started, get moving. And I so appreciate you guys. Oh yeah, that's right. Descript, Jamie. Yeah, if you are podcasting, Descript is phenomenal. And then you can take the transcription that it gives you, give it to your ChatGPT with that locked in format, tell it to write a 2,000 or 2,500 word blog post for you. Yeah, absolutely. If you're getting into dedicated tools, Descript is definitely at the top of my list for podcasts. Definitely, if you're at that point. Awesome. All right. Well, I so appreciate you guys. We will not have a live call next week, but we will be back in January on the 8th. That's a Thursday. Look out next week for a pre-recorded training for you guys. And by the way, if you haven't seen this yet, if you are looking for some hands-on support going into the new year to level up your brand, tighten up your offers, and get your pipeline filled with new clients so that your schedule is as packed as you want it to be, there are some incredible opportunities for you to take advantage of right now. We've reopened these for the new year. We will be offering some additional days so that this is something that covers everyone. So please do take a look at this. These are incredibly priced. You can go all in for a wildly low price to get access to everything. This is going to be up in your dashboard right here. So take a look. This is working with me for either a 4 or 6 week cohort or a half-day workshop in the new year. So look forward to working with you guys in the coming weeks. I will see you all in 2026. I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and a very, very happy New Year.